Okay, so my coach was a firm believer, probably like the biggest believer in mental training that I had ever come across in a career. I would go to practice every day and work 4 or 5 hours, and he would say, okay, this is body training, but when you go home, it'll be mind training. And at the end of my practice, he would say, here's your assignments when you go home. And he'd say, I want you to picture yourself, like close your eyes, lay in bed. Picture yourself walking into the arena, the competition, that whatever one it is you're training for, so the Olympics. He said, I want you to hear what the audience sounds like. I want you to see and feel what the beam feels like, and picture every move you will make and do it 20 times in a row perfectly. So if you make a mistake or you picture yourself making a mistake, you have to start over. Like you go back to zero.
Oh.
And every night when I would go home and he'd say, I want you to picture the Olympic arena during preliminary competition in your beam routine. Picture it 20 times in a row. It's really difficult, and it would take me hours.
Why do you think it's difficult?
I think it's hard because just by nature, I think because of insecurities and fears and doubts as a human being, we naturally picture ourselves failing. I think it's just like, almost like the negativity coming in and seeping into your subconscious, because you're always like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And my coach was a believer that if you picture it, it will happen. And doing these repetitions mentally, I would get to a point where I could picture 200, 500 routines back to back perfect. And it just kind of strengthens your mind in a way where if you can't let even the image of yourself making a mistake come into your brain, your body shouldn't be able to respond to it.
Do you still use that now in other things that you do?
I try to. If I ever find myself in a situation where I'm getting nervous, I'll be like, okay, picture yourself doing it the right way. And it's all muscle memory. I mean, there's even scientific proof that shows if you picture anything, your body's actually doing it just on a smaller scale. So you have to teach your body to do things the right way, even when you're out of practice in picturing yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to do that as an adult. You were 16 years old.
Yeah.
Like, for people at home, like, guys, do you remember what it's like at 16? I mean, it's so scary. Like, the biggest thing that I had to deal with, I think, was, like, you know, getting on a bus and maybe, like, getting picked on or something like that at 16. But, like, you're in front of hundreds of millions of people. So all this practice that you've got, like, I get the importance of it. And like, on the day, though, how do you just not break?
I have no idea, because like being 27 years old now, I feel like I could never do it.
Oh, okay.
Like,
talk to me about that.
Oh my gosh. There was something beautiful about being 16, because as a kid, you are innocently naive. You don't have all the life distractions. You're not capable of thinking of all the repercussions that can come of such a monumental event. And you can't even like comprehend the magnitude of the situation. But as an adult, you can. And the weight of that pressure can sit in a different manner as an adult. As a kid, my biggest fear was disappointing my family. And that is a huge weight to bear, but it's not as big as everything that could probably come with it. And so as a 16-year-old, I was conditioned and trained to deal with my performance in that arena at that time. And I had a coach who saw me as a child, who was able to say, oh, she's getting a little distracted. Let me like guide her back this way. Yeah. But if you have an adult mindset at 16, or if you have an adult mindset on an Olympic stage, you have to deal with so much more. And I'm glad I didn't have to do that.
Yeah, it actually brings me to a quote that you said that I found fascinating, and it's so true. In gymnastics, you see a trend. The older you get, the more you start visualizing. This can go very wrong. In a child, you see the opposite.
As kids, we are blindly fearless. We don't picture things going wrong. We don't have that risk assessment yet. We just do it. And in gymnastics, people are always like, why are gymnasts so young? And I mean, just a blatant fact, we're girls, and the more aerodynamic you are as a prepubescent child, you physiologically can just flip better. But you also have a mindset that is more fearless. You flip on a 4-inch beam 4.5 feet off the ground, and you don't even think twice.
Of the repercussions of how serious you could really hurt yourself.
I kind of noticed a shift when I was like 19, 20 years old. I started picturing myself, or I started picturing what could go wrong instead of what could go right. And I knew that it was pretty much my time to back out of my sport.
Do you now then use that in your life of like anything you're going to approach? Like, okay, there's two ways to think about it. The ways it could go right and the ways it could go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you allow yourself to think about the ways that could go wrong, you'll not be able to do anything in life, anything at all. I mean, you can't eat cereal in the morning because that could end badly. So I truly have to approach like everything in life, be like, okay, this could be the greatest thing to happen in my life. Instead of thinking, oh, this could end miserably wrong.
I love that. Talk to me about the burnout that you had then, because like the intensity is just crazy.
So I started gymnastics when I was 2.5. I was just this little kid that had way too much energy, and I thought I could fly as a kid. So I put my teeth through my lip, I cracked my head open, I did all these things trying to actually fly.
Right.
So my parents put me in gymnastics and said it was like a padded playground that I could just be a kid at. But I had been training probably 40 hours a week for at least 6 years leading up to the Olympics. I mean, starting from when I was like 10.
That's crazy. So you've spent that much time, especially at that age, that must have been everything you identified with. So you go, you get the gold. I mean, you got 4 medals. Like, let's not forget about the silvers.
Yeah.
But then you stopped for 2 years.
Yep.
Can you talk to me about that and the decision behind that?
Yes. My dream outside of the Olympics, I wanted to do collegiate gymnastics. I also wanted to go to college. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. That was my dream in life. And I wanted to pursue this whole other life outside of being a gymnast. And as soon as the Olympics were done, my coach had taught me from day one that in order to be a gymnast and be successful, you have to have a heart and a passion for it. And I think that goes with everything in life. I think you have to truly have a passion to be successful. And for me, I knew at the Olympics that like my passion was kind of burnt out. I just knew that I looked forward to that finish line. And I kind of told myself, like, if I'm looking forward to a finish line, my passion must not be as strong as it once was. And as soon as the Olympics were over, I felt this freedom of, I crossed the finish line. I can take a break now. I don't have to go back to the gym. I don't have to worry about my nutrition plan. I don't have to have these stressors on me. I can focus on college, and I can focus on other things and a social life and being a 16-year-old kid. And it was just a weight that I needed lifted off my shoulders for a while. And I was good with it, but 2 years goes by and it starts to come back.
How did you navigate that as well? Because I think whether it's, sports or other things people are approaching in life, it's like sometimes they worry like, oh my God, have I made the wrong decision? Like, how do I spend 6 years training for something and then step away from it? What if I regret it? Did any of that process, did you have to go through any of that process? And then when you started to feel like, oh, maybe I should go back to it, like talk me through that and the mindset behind that.
I have a lot of kids, especially in sports, ask me, like, when do I know it's the right time to quit or walk away? If you can truly ask yourself and internalize a question and say, do I love my sport more than anything in the world, that I would sacrifice hard days and family time and hobbies to be in that sport? If you can say no, then you've probably lost that passion. But for me, as soon as the Olympics were over, I knew my passion wasn't there because I had more interest in other things than I did in furthering and progressing in my sport. And 2 years later, when I started to feel this itch come back, I started to have more interest in gymnastics than those other things.
Okay.
And I think it's just like, at the end of the day, when you get bored, where does your heart lie?
Yeah.
Will kind of tell you what you're supposed to be in or not.
What up guys, Lisa here. Thanks so much for watching this episode. And if you haven't already subscribed, click that little button right in front of you. Click, click, click away. We release episodes every Wednesday, so be sure to get notified. Till next time, go be the hero of your own life.